Welcome to Layn Credit University. The question is, should you pay off your small debts or your big debts first? There's a lot of different strategies and ideologies around this topic. And again, I don't think there's right or wrong answer. I'm gonna give you my opinion, what I think is right. I like the more balanced approach, but for those that believe in only paying off their small balances first, that's great. That usually typically gives you a more psychological feel, especially if you're not used to paying off debt and maybe you don't feel good about, and maybe you don't have much money, or maybe even if you have a lot of money, if you pay off a big debt right away, you might not feel so good because you're like, oh, I lost all this money in just one debt or a few debts. But if you pay even their small debts, say 10 to 15 different small debts off, you feel a little better. So you're knocking them out and you're building. That could work. Some people consider that the debt snowball effect, where you basically snowball, right? You start small and it starts getting bigger, which that's fine. And there's other people that believe in the debt avalanche style, where you start from the big and go to the small. And people that like that are usually people that are a little more geared towards, they want to see big changes fast. So those are the people where the little changes, paying off one, maybe 10 debts that are small, doesn't really impress them, and they don't have that psychological effect because they feel it's too slow. So they want more fast exponential growth in building their credit. So they want to pay off everything right away, and they usually have the capital for it. So really, each one has its own philosophy and own methodology on what systematically helps you. Really depends. What I personally believe in is I'm more on the side of balance. So I believe in that you should do both. Why only pay off small debts and why only pay off big debts? Why not do both? How about this? Pay off a big debt, but also pay some small debts off. Maybe pay, instead of paying 5 small debts off, pay 3 small debts off and pay 1 big debt off. And instead of paying 2 big debts off, how about pay 1 big debt off and pay 3 small debts off? Now what you're essentially doing, it gives you both effects. You feel good about knocking out small ones in a numeric fashion, but you also feel good about knocking the big ones out because they're worth so much, right? And this actually effectively makes you look good in the banking institution's eyes, because you're not only just knocking out small debts, knocking out debts in general and paying them down looks good in general, even if it's a $1 debt, even if it's the smallest debt ever. But if you can show and demonstrate, hey, I have a strong income because I'm paying off big debts, that makes banking institutions typically, from my personal opinion experience, trust you more and believe in you more. And when you knock out small debts, it shows that you're responsible. But if you're only knocking out small debts, which that still is good, the way they look at it is you're just knocking out small debts. But when you start knocking out these big debts, you're like, wow, okay, this person's serious. But again, knocking out debts and paying off debts and knocking them down and paying them down is definitely beneficial to you. And doesn't matter which approach that works for you. That's my opinion, that I feel works for me and what I believe in. But again, pick what works for you. If you feel more comfortable paying off small debts because maybe you don't have the capital, if you do have the capital, you don't want to put all your money into one debt. You rather see multiple debts being paid down that are small. Do what makes you happy, right? If you're into, if it floats your boat and you want to pay off big debts, you don't want to pay off the small debts because it's too slow for you. You're like, yeah, I'm paying off multiple debts, but it's such a small amount. It's not really taking a big dent at the amount of debt I currently accrued. Fine, pay off the big debts, whatever makes you happy, right? I just believe in the more balanced approach. Do both. Knock out the big debts and the small debts. Instead of knocking out 10 small debts, maybe knock out 5 small debts, for example. Instead of knocking out maybe 3 big debts, knock out 1 or 2 big debts. As that way you have a balanced approach on both spectrums of the field. That's what I truly believe in. Welcome to Layn Credit University. If you want one-on-one coaching, hit that join button and become a Layn University member. I love you guys. That's how you do it. And that's pretty good stuff.